The first one is, how would you describe your management style? And also you can like incorporate um, what you've learned with managing Tritechs and how that's helped you in being the mayor.
Okay.
So, how would you describe your management style?
Open and honest, and I have an open door policy because I can't make an educated decision without knowing, all the parts. I try to be compromising and respectful of others. I did learn a long time ago from a customer, because my dad was always very hard and, very direct and rough, and he's like, you collect this money, and, so anyway, my customer told me one time, he said, I understand, you need this money and you're collecting it. He said, but you'll get more bees with honey. And that really stuck with me, that I can accomplish what I need, but still being respectful about it. The other thing is, you've got to think about, are you trying to win the battle? Are you trying to win the war? What are we trying to do here? And compromising. So that's, I tell all my people, come talk to me. Let's figure out what's going on. I may not give you the answer you wanted, but at least we're talking about it. So open lines of communication. And I ask, especially with my employees, how do you think we should fix this? I ask for their input.
Okay, and then the second one is, how would you describe your leadership style? And I don't know if you would say that that's any different or not, but if you would, how would you describe that?
It's kind of the same, but I also, I'm very outspoken and upfront about things. I mean, I just lay it all on the table.
Yeah.
There's not any hidden agendas. There's nothing like that. And just, let's just get it out in the open. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And then you have to be somebody who's not afraid to make a decision, even when it's not going to be the popular decision. But if it's the right decision, you have to be able to stand up and stand behind what you say.
Yeah. What skills or abilities have been the most useful to you as a leader?
Being able to speak in front of people. That's big, because you have to talk with whether one person or 30, or sometimes you get a room full of 100 screaming, crazy, mad mob like. So you have to be able to speak in front of people. You have to have a calm, level voice, because people are like animals. If they sense nervousness, fear, maybe you're not, if they sense that maybe you're not up to speed on the subject, they'll find that as a weakness and they'll try to use it against you. So you have to be able to speak in public, be able to speak calmly, control your anger or your emotions, and again, just really being respectful.
How did you learn and develop your management skills? And I know you said that your dad was kind
of... A lot of it was my dad. I grew up in a home where it didn't matter, boy, girl, whatever, you were responsible for contributing. Everybody worked. I've always been involved in things. I've not been a real shy person, so being able to be outspoken is a lot. But I was a parole officer.
Really?
So, my background, my degree is in criminal justice, and I was a parole officer, and so you definitely learn all types of people in that situation.
What is your personal philosophy of leadership, and what do you think makes a good leader? You kind of already touched on that, but... Do you have anything to add?
The worst somebody can ever say is no. And what's no? A 2-letter word. So you just have to figure out, okay, why was there a no? What is it about it, and just, again, you just have to learn to control your emotions and listen. So you have to be open-minded too. You have to be able to take it in and process. And there are many times I go into a council meeting thinking one thing, but by the time we've all talked and everyone in the room has communicated, I've learned something. And sometimes I even change my thoughts after getting in there. So being open-minded is a big one as well.
Okay. In your opinion, what is different about you that distinguishes you from other managers or leaders?
I guess for me, I always see there's a possibility in things. I don't look at the negative as much. I try to find something good out of the issues or problems that we have, and try to figure out, how to work with what we have. Here in the city, we have limited budgets. We are an old community with old infrastructure. But there's still ways to get around and get things accomplished. And so I think because I don't take no for an answer in a lot of things. To me, problems are just something to work through. They're not really life altering. You just figure out a way to work through it.
What training materials or experiences have been the most helpful to you in developing your skills and abilities?
Again, I said I was always involved. So even when I was in college, I joined a sorority, just to be involved in in a new community environment. Growing up in a small town, you know everyone. When you go to a big college, you're kind of lost, kind of a fishbowl effect. And so I joined a sorority just so I, kind of had a family environment type thing. And it's one of those things, when I get into something, I really get into it, I go 100%. And I was on the executive board for the sorority, even got involved with Panhellenic, which Panhellenic manages and governs all the sororities on campus. So I was even involved kind of with some of the, not just within the sorority, but outside that. So I don't know, it's just one of those things. When I was in kindergarten, and so that was in 1976, and that was the sesquicentennial or something. And they had a parade, and so the kindergarten class was, their float was, where will we be in, another 50 years, 100 years, or I guess it was 50 years. And I was the first female president.
What leader has made the greatest impact on your life, and how do you know them, and what impact did they make?
Wow, what leader? I guess the biggest impact on my life was my dad. Now, was he a public leader? No. But he was very involved, community, very social. But what I learned the most was hard work. obstacles are just things to work through.
Okay. Among anyone who is still living, who do you greatly admire or consider as a great leader in the world today, and why?
In the world today?
Yes.
Huh?
It's quite a big question.
Wow. In the world. Somewhat locally, within Texas, I guess would be Pat Fallon, because he's, now he's the new kid on the block, is the new Senate member, but he's very in touch with his constituents. He gets involved in the community. He knows what's going on the ground, and he and I are a lot alike. That you got a problem, you just figure out how to work through it. You just don't give up. Kind of that little, kind of like a little bulldog. You just keep working through it.
Okay. What skills do you think are the most important for an effective manager, and what recommendations would you make for me to consider as a leader or manager in my life in the future?
Listening. Having an open mind and listening. Because those that work for you, they're the ones on the ground doing the hard work. So you have to know what they're experiencing, and you have to value what they're telling you. Whether it's they don't have the right tools, so they need more tools, or they have something that's broken, or if they had, if they wanted to try a new program, or you have to be able to listen and honestly listen, because there are a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm a good listener, and they don't listen. You have to be present when you're listening, not with your phone in your hand, or still typing. You have to be present. So when I have employees come in and I know that it's something they really want to talk about, I put all my stuff down and I turn and I look at them, give them eye contact, and give them my undivided attention. And a lot of times, they just need to get it off their chest. And I could probably not even really say anything in return. And they'll be saying, okay, I feel better.
Okay. What do you think is most helpful in leading a diverse workforce?
You just treat everybody the same. For me, I don't see color, race, age, sex, none of that. We're all the same. I look at people, I try to think of the world as if we were all blind. None of that would matter. It wouldn't matter, what background we're come from. It wouldn't matter, black, white, yellow. If we spoke a foreign language, none of that would matter. It just matters on what we're doing together as a group.
How do you motivate and inspire people when times are tough?
Giving them hope. So listening to them and giving them an outlet, somebody to talk to, somebody that they know is just there to support them. Encouraging them to continue, doing what they're doing, and then asking them, okay, what is your goal? What and how can I help you? Because even when things are going bad, when you dissect it down, you can figure out maybe it's just something simple. They just can't see it, kind of the forest for the trees. So when they help them dissect it down, it's like a light bulb goes off sometimes, and they can end up going on.
How do you go about figuring out the right direction to take an organization, and what is the process for creating and sharing your vision?
You have to be a team player. I mean, it's not about one person. It is a team effort, and everyone involved has an important role. You know, my janitor, if my janitor doesn't come to work, well, then we don't have clean bathrooms, we don't have clean tables, we don't have clean workspace. I can't work if I don't have a clean workspace, you know. If my guy who unloads the truck doesn't come in, well, then we're you know, so we're all team players, and we're all important, and our opinions should be valued and respected.
Okay. Once you know where your organization is headed, how do you align the people with your vision?
You got to make them part of it. You got to get them to buy into it. You have to make them part of it, so they have ownership in it. Because when people have ownership in things, they take pride in it, and you have to give them the recognition for what they've done. You know, last night I had somebody call me. We had a meeting last night about the mural downtown, and I had somebody call me and say, you know, the way you listened and got the whole room coming together was amazing. And I said, it wasn't me. That was everybody. And this person said, you don't ever take credit. You're always giving it to somebody else. And I said, well, I want other people to know they're valued and important.
Okay, what are some of the most important lessons about managing and leading people that you have learned?
I've learned I have to control my temper. And I have to control my emotions, because that can get you sidetracked. That can come across as a weakness or an obstacle. So that's the biggest thing. You have to control your emotion.
Okay, what do you think is the most difficult aspect of being an effective manager or leader?
Finding good employees is a difficult thing. Finding those who have the same values and vision as the team. Because one bad apple, I mean, I can tell when I hire new people, have new people come in, and if the community environment changes, you got to do something about it quick, because it can ruin everything, you know. And it's sad, but just one person can turn it. So you have to find good people.
What advice would you offer for future leaders?
If you're going to do it 100%.
Okay. What are you and this is the last question, what are you the most proud of in your role as a leader?
The history and legacy that I'm leaving for my kids. You know, a lot of this, the reason I do as a mayor here in Pilot Point is because of my love of my family, my parents, my dad, the people in this town, the history, the relationships. And I want my kids to experience and know the great things that I knew as a kid. I told my son the other day, I said, sadly, just because of our circumstances now, you're not going to know or understand what it was like as being a farmer's kid, you know. And he's like, well, it's not my fault. And I said, no, it's just the way the world is changing. You know, we're not out as families working in the fields like we used to. we're not out working with animals and things like we used to. But that's what Pilot Point was. The new mural that's going in is going to have cotton balls on it. Well, I heard somebody say to me, "Oh, isn't that a little racist?" No, absolutely not. Pilot Point was one of the largest cotton gins in the United States, and it was white and black families that were farming. It was not a race or a color or any of that. It was a way of life. And so for me, I want to do things to leave a legacy for my kids.
Okay, well, that is it.
Did it help you any?
It did. So now I